that do not know me, my name is Teresa Pulley, and my family and I live here in Knightdale, right outside of Raleigh in North Carolina. And today's conference call is going to focus on children and biomedics. You're going to get to hear other parents and myself share our children's success stories while taking biomedics products. There's several of us tonight, hopefully if they get on the call, that will be sharing our stories, or our children's success stories, with biomedics and ADD and ADHD, asthma, juvenile diabetes. And I want you to really listen to these testimonies carefully because you just might know someone in the same situation and they need to know about what we have to offer them. And at the end of the call, we'll open up the lines for some open discussion like we did after our last ADD support call. For those of you that are listening in for the very first time, Biomedics was founded in 1993, and we started out with about 15 distributors to market their products, and we are now one of the fastest growing and best performing companies in the nutritional business. And I find for myself, like many others, that our products, everyone loves them because they're in liquid form, they taste great, they absorb 3 to 5 times faster than any other supplements out there. Because they are a liquid form, anyone can take them. It's easy for anyone of any age to enjoy these products. And if you decide after this call to try Biomedics for the very first time, we do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Also, before we really get into sharing our testimonials, I want to remind you that the testimonials that you're going to be hearing tonight are each individual's own results, and that Biomedics makes no medical claims. Before we get started, I know we have 2 or 3 more beats. I just want to see if you'd like to say who you are and where you're from.
This is Deborah from Cleveland.
Hey, Deborah.
Hello.
You were able to get on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. We will be hearing from Deborah a little bit later this evening. I'm going to go ahead and first thing I want to do is I want to start out by asking you a question and see if you or anyone, someone that you love can relate to it. Here goes. Can you imagine what it would be like to live in a fast-moving kaleidoscope? Think about it. Think about all those images, all those colors, all that movement. Everything is constantly shifting, constantly changing, distracting you. Your mind is wandering because of everything that's going on around you. You'd probably have trouble controlling yourself enough to even concentrate and or complete a simple task because your mind would continuously be moving just like all of those images, colors, and shapes inside that kaleidoscope. There would be so many things going on inside your head that sometimes there could be somebody right there beside you speaking to you and you wouldn't even know it because you're thinking about the colors and the shapes, everything else. But that is exactly what life was like for my son Justin. It's exactly what life is like for a lot of children and adults with ADD. My son Justin, he had trouble sitting still in class. He had trouble finishing and completing his work. There were times he couldn't even sit still, couldn't be quiet, couldn't walk down the hallway at school without rubbing his hands up and down the hall. Couldn't focus, had a lot of trouble concentrating, and sometimes he was very impulsive also. We didn't see that at home quite as much as they saw it at school, but that was 2 entirely different situations, So we learned that not only did Justin have attention deficit disorder, but he also had a learning disability. So we had to work with him. He pretty much always struggled in school because of that, and we've had to spend a lot of extra time with him. And he started taking Ritalin when he was about 5.5 years old. And at that point in time, school did become easier for him, and our home life improved as well. But we weren't thrilled with having him on medication. And because we were talking about it a little bit earlier on the call, my husband, Frankie, is or was a police officer with Raleigh PD, and he was an officer for 17 years, and the last 10 years he spent on the SWAT team. And when you arrest somebody, of course, you're going to ask them if they're on any medications or drugs. And he noticed that a lot of times the juveniles that he arrested, they were taking Ritalin or some other medication comparable to Ritalin. So a great majority them were taking Ritalin, and this caused us to have even more concern for Justin, with him being on the Ritalin. And another concern of ours was that Ritalin is a controlled substance, and in North Carolina, it's classified as a Schedule II controlled substance. That's exactly what cocaine is classified as, a Schedule II controlled substance. I don't want to scare anybody. I'm just kind of letting you know what Frankie and I were going through. Drugs are ranked according to the severity of their effects on the body, Schedule I being the most severe and addictive, like heroin, on down to Schedule VI, being the least severe, like maybe something like marijuana. We just felt that we were giving Justin mixed messages. Here we are giving him a pill to take, and at the same time we're telling him and teaching him at school to just say no to drugs. So, we felt like we were kind of giving him mixed signals. But again, although we had these concerns, we knew in our hearts that Justin could not cope in school without the medication. At the time, there was just no way he could handle it. I mean, he could not even handle or follow several instructions or commands at one time without medication. You could not tell him to go brush his teeth and make up his bed in one sentence, because he'd forget the second part of that sentence before he even got upstairs. Believe me, we tried all the behavior management skills. We tried the contracts that the teacher suggested, with the little charts on the refrigerator and things like that. We did all the timeout periods. That didn't work because he'd just sit there and talk to the dude. He didn't care. We started taking away privileges. We started taking away his favorite toys. Well, pretty soon after that, he pretty much knew that almost every day he was going to lose a privilege or a toy. So he would actually just go get his toys and hand them to us before we even say anything to him. So, that didn't work after a few months. And as a parent, I was somewhat angry. I was angry that I was having to deal with the situation. I was embarrassed that I had to put my child on medication, even though it was nothing to be embarrassed about. I was frustrated because I felt like that not only could I not control him, but I was having a very hard time controlling myself. I felt like I was constantly on him about something. In the evenings when his medication wore off, or on the weekends we didn't give him his medication, so it seemed like I was constantly on him about something. And, I was just very frustrated. He had been on Ritalin for about 5.5 years when Kathy Privet told me about Biomedics. And I really wanted Justin to try the Biomedics because the Ritalin suppressed his appetite so much that he only ate 1 meal a day, and that was breakfast. So I knew that he was not getting the nutrition that his body needed, and that was the main reason that we started these Biomedics products. It was not to see if it would get him off of his medication. I had no idea that it would help him like it did. What I noticed that very first week of him taking the product, that he was much calmer in the morning. He could follow 2, 3, 4 instructions at one time. I do want to let everyone know that the very first month that he took Biomedics, I did keep him on his Ritalin. And the second month that we were on Biomedics products, I started decreasing his Ritalin, and I increased his vitamin serving sizes because I could tell that that's something that he needed. And before the second month was up, he was completely off the Ritalin, and he stopped having the daily headaches that he had been having. His appetite increased. In fact, he gained 12 pounds the first 3 months after starting Biomedics products. He was prone to having sinus problems. He had asthma, and after taking Biomedics products, there are some of the things that kind of diminished. He wasn't having many sinus headaches, sinus problems, and asthma as he used to, and a lot of the little tics like blinking his eyes or shaking his head at times, all of that went away. And he also started sleeping more peacefully. And that's something that kind of common after I've talked to a lot of people with ADD children, and one thing that we've all kind of noticed, or that's very common, is that ADD children, most of the time, they tend to sleep through the night, so they don't sleep very peacefully, because in the morning, the bed sheets are just practically torn off the bed. Well, after my son started taking Biomedics products, I could go up there the next morning, and his bed looked like no one hardly slept in it. I mean, it was, the sheets were still on the bed, the comforter was where it was supposed to be, so he was if you tried it for 30 days, don't drink the vitamin. Ritalin tablets are still up in the counter or in the cabinet. Let's get them out and let's take it. You know what? He just kind of stood back and looked at me and said, I'm not going to take another one of those Ritalin tablets. I was just, and he was kind of like, I was just saying that. But that phrase, oh, I got to drink this stuff, that had become a habit because he had said it for so long. But I didn't give in. We were persistent and we were consistent with him every single day. And that morning, he drank his vitamins just like he always did. He hadn't complained since then. I'm happy to say that he has been medication-free for 3 years now. His grades are improving, and actually this year he's having his best year ever. He's having the best year ever. We are often asked, how did we know what to give Justin or the serving sizes? We didn't. We just listened to other people share their stories. We asked them questions. We would try some of the same things that maybe they had tried. These are just vitamins. They're water soluble, so you don't have to worry about any fat soluble vitamins building up in your body or not being absorbed. And we just played around with the serving size of the product until we found what was best for him. And no matter what we tried, we made sure that we kept him on that regimen for at least 1 or 2 weeks before we would try something different. And probably within the 3 years that we've been on Diametics, we have changed his routine 5 or 6 times. But to us, the main thing is he's healthier, he's getting his self-esteem back, and he feels so much better. And he also doesn't get as sick as he used to. He was going to be available to speak on the call tonight, but I'm sorry to say that his girlfriend came first over you guys, and he was just dying to go see her march in the Christmas parade tonight. So he's not with us, but I made him promise to speak on the call January 11th in case anybody had any particular questions for him. And I do want to ask you to keep in mind to remember that I'm speaking to you from the viewpoint of a parent, not as a nutritionist or a pediatrician. I, along with all the others on the call tonight, we're just parents that care about others, and we want others to know that with Diametics there is hope. So with that, we're going to go on to our next guest. I have Pamela Lee. Pamela, are you there? Hi, Teresa. Can you hear me? Yes, I can. Can you introduce you have a new customer, Renee, on the product. Could you introduce her to everyone? I would love to. As you know, first of all, this is a subject that's close to my heart because this is the way we found out about Biomedics because of our 6-year-old daughter who 2 years ago when she was 4 was very hyperactive and attention deficit. So I'm always thrilled when I hear stories from other people who are having the same kind of success. Renee is, she and her husband they've only been using the product about 2 weeks. They are brand new distributors. They just registered, I think, yesterday, right? Right, Renee? That's correct. And she will tell you her story about her son. Okay? Go ahead, Renee.
Hi, my name is Renee, and I'm from Lincoln, California. And I have a little boy who is 3 years old, and we have just been at with him. We did not know what to do with him. He was just out of control. He has 1-year-old twin brothers, and he was hitting them, and there was no discipline that we would do that would work with him. And I was just about ready to start his medication. I was going to start him on a Ritalin type of drug, and I was trying to find some sort of homeopathic alternative when my husband did some work for Robin and Pamela, and they shared the Biomedics with us. And we started Tristan on that. I think he's been on it 4 or 5 days, and we are just amazed at the difference in him already. He's got phenomenal. His control is just amazing. He's very cooperative. He's the loving little boy that I know he is, and he has just been great. We've had he was in a gymnastics class, and he's had to leave the class twice because he was so out of control and couldn't follow directions. And last Thursday after his class, one of the mothers came up to me and she said, I am just amazed what has happened to your son. He is totally a different child. He was able to follow direction. Even when the other children lost control, he was able to stay with the teacher and keep focused. And it seemed like he was having such a good time, and it made me so happy. Listening to Teresa, my heart is just aching for people that don't have to deal with this, because it's very heart-wrenching to see your children suffer, because that's what they do. They suffer. It's an uncontrollable urge that they have, and I am just tickled to death. I cannot wait. We just started. All Tristan has been taking was the Biofuel 2000 and the Get Going Plus, and I just ordered the CalMag and the Aloe, so I can't wait to see the results that continue. And I also have ADD, and it has helped me immensely. I've been able to focus. I've been able to control my impulses. It's just been something that our family has been praying for a long time. So we're real tickled.
But thank you, Renee. I know that was, you've only been on the product for such a short time and didn't ask to give your testimony on a national conference call, and we do appreciate that. It was a wonderful story, and I wish you and your family the best. And please just call, let Pam know if you need any help at all. Give us a call. And I did notice, I'll tell you right now, I noticed even a greater results when Justin was taking the CalMag. So you may even see more of an improvement. Who knows?
That would be wonderful.
But thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Marty Pulley is going to be our next speaker. Marty is my brother-in-law, and Frankie tried to get Marty and Lynn to take the product for almost about 2 years, not only for them to take it for more energy and all, but for their son. They have a 3-year-old son, Jared, who was originally diagnosed with vulvar disorder. And Marty, are you on the call?
I am on the call, Teresa. Do you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. Could you just give everybody an update on how Jared is doing?
I sure will. Be glad to. Jared is doing wonderful today. When we initially noticed that he had a speech delay, he wasn't saying mom and daddy at the same time the other boys did, and we carried him to every doctor between here and Chapel Hill. And Lynn had started the vitamins because of her arthritis and got great results in a week. And that was when Jared was in the middle of his testing. He had genetic testing and a lot of different blood tests done and so forth. But anyway, to make the long story short, we started him on the products after his genetic testing was completed. And he started November the 17th of last year. And that's been over a year now. And he has come such a long way. He also had a condition called essential tremors, and both his occupational therapist and speech therapist noticed a difference in him within the first week of taking the products. Today he's putting words together. He's saying new words just about every day, and it's like the difference between night and day.
Marty, one thing that I've noticed just in the last several weeks or the last month or two with Jared is that up until maybe the last 6-8 months, the only means of him being able to communicate was kind of by making it sound a grunt, something to get your attention, like
That's right.
But I've noticed the last couple times that I've been around Jared, he is not doing that hardly ever.
He does. He will come in and get you, and he will actually vocalize and say, he or whatever. Whatever he wants. He came and told Lynn today he had a plate pizza, and it said the pizza's ready. So he's had a vast improvement. His pediatrician here in Raleigh has seen the difference that these products have made in him and wrote a prescription for the products last month when we took him for his 3-year checkup.
And we were so thrilled to hear that. That was unbelievable. But I wish that everybody could see Jared in person. I wish we had a video of before and now, and his progress all along, because it has truly been amazing. We're glad that he's getting those results, and thank you for being on the call. I know you have all 3 boys tonight because Lynn is at a meeting, so thanks for being on.
Glad to be here. I just say there's 3 things that I know about the product. products. They work, they taste great, and they're safe. I wouldn't give them to my 3-year-old if I didn't think so.
Thanks a lot, Marty.
Sure thing.
That pretty much says it all right there. I'd like to introduce everyone now to Patricia Spencer, and that name may sound familiar to a lot of you. Patricia is one of the newest staff members at Biomedic's corporate office, and she's also a mother of 2 children. And Patricia, are you there?
I am. Hi there.
Hey there. You actually listened to the last ADD conference call that I had, and after that call, I think you decided that you were going to take some products home and have your children start taking them. And if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, your daughter, had not been tested for ADD, but her teacher maybe had some concerns, or you had some concerns?
Exactly. About a year and a half ago. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for inviting me onto this call. My experience here has been incredible being part of this team and working directly with so many of the distributors, and Teresa, and your stories and your motivation, as well as the other directors and executive directors. So I just first of all want to say that. I have 2 little children. I'm a single parent. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And about a year and a half ago, I started receiving phone calls from my 10-year-old's teacher. It was about every week and a half to 2 weeks, where she was sharing what was going on in the class with Brittany. Basically, it was the inability to focus, to stay on task, and to not disrupt other children in the class. But at home, she seemed to be a little bit okay in terms of staying on task, brushing the teeth, being able to get her clothes on in the morning and get ready for school. She really couldn't go beyond 1 or 2 tasks. And I had to keep going back and revisiting, this is what you do, step 1, step 2, step 3. It was very frustrating for her, because I think she felt as if mom is constantly after me, trying to keep me going, and the teacher was concerned, and she was falling back in her grades, her spelling, her reading, skipping along the hallway, not even realizing where she was going, where class was, showing up late repetitively. And that was a big concern. I'm a single parent, feeling like what can I do to support my child? Tutors, got the tutors, took her to the pediatrician, who we have had a long-term relationship with, and shared what was happening, and we tried, quite a few different testing, and like you said, she wasn't diagnosed with ADD, and we couldn't quite figure out what the issue was. So, continually all these different paths, we tried, different diets, eating at different times, smaller meals, just the whole variety, and with no actual results at all, just treading this long road. And I ended up joining the team over here at the corporate headquarters in the end of July of this year. And my background has been primarily fitness. I've been in the fitness industry for years, and I've always been taught, if you will, that you only need to take 1 multivitamin during the day, and that's it. And that's what I'd always provided the kids. I never went beyond that. Never less, but never beyond. And when I joined the team here and started taking the products and learning about the different attributes of each product and hearing the stories, and Teresa, the last call was incredible to me. It was emotionally touching, because it hit home and hit my heart so strongly. It was incredible. But anyhow, I started becoming more aware of the products and the stories, and I decided, what is it going to hurt? Nothing. So I went ahead and I placed an order for some products, and I took them home, and I sat down at the table with the girls and talked to them, told them what each product was, and really didn't put too much emphasis on, it's going to help you focus or anything like that, because I didn't want to put any pressure on them. But then they started taking the products, and the first couple of days they were like, okay, here we go. And they were kind of hesitant, just like Justin was. It was like, okay, I've had enough of this. But then about a week later, we started trying different things, different fruit flavored, mango juice with the biofuel and the get going, and just kind of experimented and made it fun. And they continually took the products in the morning and the evening. And about 3 weeks later, I go into a parent-teacher conference, and the girl's dad comes down from up north to go in, and I'm nervous. I'm upset because I know that every conference meeting that I've had with the teachers for the past year and a half has always been, Brittany needs this or Brittany has that. It's been stressful for all the individuals in our family members. So we sat down, and she said, "You're not going to believe this, Patricia. You're just not going to." And I'm looking at her, I'm thinking she's going to tell me that my child has to be held back or something. And next thing I know, the first thing out of her mouth is, "Brittany's done a complete 180." And I'm shocked. And Brittany's father's mouth dropped to the ground, and he couldn't believe it. And she just went on to say that Brittany has been in class on time, ready to go, focusing. I mean, actually raising her hand, not just sitting there, gazing off, not paying attention, but really participating and getting 100% on her spelling test. I can't really put it into words what joy it has been to see this happen to her and see the recognition that she's getting from her classmates and from the teacher, and her self-esteem is so much better, and she's skipping along the hallways, and it's wonderful. It's really, really helped our family. Actually, it's helped the relationship between my younger daughter and my older daughter, because they support each other now, and Madison can participate with Brittany and take the products and enjoy her own experience, which is more energy. To skateboard and rollerblade and everything. I don't mean to be so long-winded, but it's just so important to me. And sure.
Yeah, I know I used to be the same way with Sam, as you can tell. But, they say things happen for a reason, and you truly have been a great support person for the distributors and for the corporate office, but you never know. Maybe this is the real reason that you were brought into biomedics. Who knows?
I know.
I'm glad that she's having results, and it's so good to have you on the call tonight. I want to thank Chris and them for letting you share that with us today. So
no trying to steal our employees either, Teresa.
Hey, she works for us too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is Fran Drew on the call?
Hi, Teresa.
Hey, Fran. We are running the clock down, and we still have you to hear from, and Deborah Gabrowski, and hopefully Teresa Dukoff and Sabra Lowe. So, I'm here. Sabra's here. Okay, good. Fran, you're from Florida, and you listened to the ADD call that I did earlier, and you actually had a friend, Sandy, invited and be on the call, and she listened to the call. But before, I haven't heard Sandy say her name, so I don't think she's on here. But before we kind of talk a little bit about her and her progress, tell us about your family and how long you've been on Biomedics. And I know that you have a new baby named Noah, and that Noah's on our Biomedics products also.
Friends. Actually, my husband and I got started with Biomedics, started taking the products about 4 years ago. At the time, I was working towards a nursing degree, and I was depressed, fatigued. I had very cystic breast, and I was a complete mess. I was looking for some hope, some energy, some alertness to keep up with all the tasks and so forth. So we had met Dave Gerhardt, the executive director with Biomedics at our church, and he basically went over several programs with us. My husband and I went over to his house, tasted the product, and my husband, hating to pay retail for anything, went ahead and signed up with Biomedics right away so we can get on that discount. After being on the products for about a month, I noticed that I no longer was fatigued during the day. I was starting to decrease on my antidepressants at that time, and my breasts were no longer cystic. So that was a great improvement on my part. My husband, on the other hand, he was also tired. He's travels quite frequently, and he had tendonitis, and that went away as well. As Teresa said, we have 3 children. Sean, he's 12, and Christy's 10, and we have Noah, who's now 6. We started, like I said, receiving all these benefits. I thought, I'm going to start the kids on this. And we talked to David about it, and he said, sure, there's a lot of children on the products as well as infants. So I thought I'd go ahead and go for this. At that time, though, I was not pregnant and was not planning on getting pregnant. That was kind of a miracle in the works there. But anyway, my son Sean, who's 12, he was never tested for ADD, though I saw some characteristics. I would have to tell him to do things over and over again. In school, I was told by his teachers that he could never sit still. He was always jumping up out of his seat and talking out of line. When not asked to. So we put him on the products, and after a short time, we noticed that we were getting reports back that he was able to focus more. He was able to sit in the seat. His grades went up drastically. So there was a great improvement in him, as well as my daughter, who suffers from a lot of allergies. At one time, they wanted to put her on Claritin and some other medications, and I really didn't want to see my daughter on all these medications. So Biomedics was for her, and she has done quite well with being on the products as well. My son, Noah, he's 6 months now, and when I was pregnant, I continued on the products. As a matter of fact, I have to go back a little bit. My OB asked me to get off the products, and I did for a month, and I was so tired. I was sick, everything, and so I went ahead and talked to my sister-in-law, who's on the Biomedics products as well, and she's a chief nurse in New Jersey, and she said, Fran, we did a lot of research on these prenatal vitamins, and I'll tell you, I think you do a lot better off on the Biomedics. So I went back on anyway, and Noah was born at 8 pounds, 13 ounces. His APGAR was like 9.9. He was very, very healthy and still is. Compared to Sean and Christy, when they were infants, they had ear infections, one on top of the other, colds all the time, gastric problems, and Sean has been Noah has been complete health. Not a problem, except for teething. I haven't seen anything that Biomedics does for the teething part.
Right.
But anyway,
wonderful. And you said something very important. A lot of us on this call tonight are talking, pretty much putting the emphasis on ADD and allergies and asthma and things like that. But these products are for any and everyone, and you can be healthy and still get benefits from this, because you will find that you just do not get as sickly as other people around you. And we also have a friend of ours that she took these products just like you while she was pregnant, and her baby is a little over a year old, and she's not been sick at all. She's, just like, and her first 2 children were pretty sickly, as infants. So that's wonderful. Now, Fran, on the last call, you invited a friend of yours, Sandy, who she and her family were not on the products at the time.
right.
She listened to that call, and immediately after that call, she called you and said, I got to have these products. And I spoke with her the other day, and I don't know whether you wanted to build a business or not, but I have a feeling you're getting ready to build a business, because Sandy is very excited. She has for those of you who have not heard her story, I'll kind of give you a few details, but I do want to hear from Deborah and Sabra. But Sandy has a 10-year-old son who is severe dyslexia. He has ADD, ADHD, and he was having migraines on the Ritalin, so they took him off the Ritalin, and he's not had any migraines since he's been on Biomedics products. He said he is digging out now all the time, because when he was on Ritalin, he didn't eat, and now he's eating, and that he's just much sharper. And I guess, Fran, you and Sandy and David had a meeting not long ago, and he actually stood up and gave his own testimony, and he kind of described it as, now that he's on Biomedics, he does not see any more zigzags between his inhaler where normally he would be begging for it, which generally meant he needed a breathing treatment. So hopefully Sandy and her son will see results with that as well. He also has a 20-year-old juvenile daughter who is diabetic. She, I guess, was diagnosed with diabetes at 11 years old, and her blood sugars were a little bit high. And he was telling me that since she's been on diabetics, her blood sugar levels have dropped drastically. Her appetite is decreasing. She's beginning to drop a little bit of weight, and that is really, that's well, to hear stories like that. And Fran, I do want you to make sure that Sandy is aware that January 11th, another call, so able to give us an update at that time.
I sure will, Teresa.
Now let's go up to hopefully Deborah is still on the phone. Deborah?
Yes, I am.
A while back you shared your testimony, your niece's testimony on the Bio Loop, and we kind of want to hear how that's going.
Oh, it's going tremendous. Brittany is her name, and she is 10 years old, and about 4.5 years ago she was diagnosed with ADD, and the doctor immediately put her on Ritalin. And throughout this time span, she was always getting in fights with either her classmates or her sister, and asking her to do something, she would look at you in a daze, in a fog, just not really focusing on anything and not really responding because she was so followed by the medication. Well, I heard about Justin's story, and I really felt that this could do something for Brittany, so I discussed it with my mother and my sister, Brittany's mom, and we went ahead and tried it in hopes that it would do something for her. So in about, I would say, a week and a half, 2 weeks, she was completely off Ritalin and taking the biomedics and NE3, and the teachers have noticed a tremendous difference. She is very well focused. She's friendly. She has stopped fighting with her sister and her classmates, and she is helping her mother out a lot more at home. And she, someone mentioned doing a complete 180. She has done a complete 180, almost a completely different child. Very happy. And she has a younger sister, Alyssa, who is 7. And although Alyssa has not been diagnosed with ADD, she was having the same behavioral problems that Brittany had at that young age. So we decided, let's go ahead and try it on her too. And we don't do the full adult serving, about a quarter of the serving for these two. And her focus level increased dramatically. Her attention span greatly increased. And something that she brought up to us that we didn't notice, that she mentioned that she is so much happier. And to hear a 7-year-old child tell you that she's happy now was just the most wonderful news anyone could ever hear. Just to realize that a child wasn't happy and didn't know it until she started taking biomedics products and realizing that she's much happier. So that was a tremendous blessing in itself.
It is so wonderful, like I said, to hear a child actually stand up and say something like that, because, like you said, you had no idea she was unhappy.
True.
There are a lot of times I didn't realize that the medication that my son was on, there were times that he wanted to get up and do something. He actually just could not get up and do it. And now with biomedics, he can get up, he wants to do something, he can be himself. And it means so much for a child to say something like that, to know that we were a part of it, and we helped them out in some way. So thank you so much. I know you've been very busy moving and at work and all, so so much for being on the call tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Real quick now, we're going to go to Georgia, and we have Sabra Lowe on the phone. Sabra?
Hi, it's kind of chaotic right here.
Hey, well, do you have I know we're running down the clock, we don't even really have a lot of time left, so.
I'll be quick. I'll just want to let you know that these products have changed my son's life and my life. I mean, he was diagnosed with ADD when he was in 2nd grade, and I was actually the latter part of 2nd grade, and I was really reluctant to put him on Ritalin. And finally, we were desperate. I tried diet modifications, and that didn't work. And excuse me, so we put him on Ritalin for about 10 months, and it was okay for a while, and then all of a sudden, he must have outgrown it or something, but he became very depressed, and the doctors put him on Adderall, and then he became very lethargic, and he was really frustrated in school, and things just weren't working. I knew I wanted to try him on something else. I knew there was a better solution, and all of a sudden, I met Teresa Ducoff. She gave me this tape. I listened to the tape, and I thought, wow, if it helped these other kids, maybe it helped my son. So I took him off the Ritalin because it was summer at that time, tried the product. Within 2 days, I could see the difference in him. He was more relaxed. He seemed like a different child. And so that summer, he went through summer school, and the teacher could notice a difference in him. And finally, he's been on the products for about a year and a half, and he is now an A student. He focuses in school. He takes the product in the morning when he gets up, and again in the afternoon when he gets home from school. And he takes his product all weekend long because it's something that you can tell the difference when he goes off of it for 2 days. You can tell the difference. And we have just been so pleased with his progress. And I must be honest that he still fights a little bit to take it. You know, he's stubborn. It's like, I don't want to take this. But we were on a fishing trip last summer, and he didn't take the products for 2 days, and we're out in this fishing boat, and he was bouncing all over the boat. Excuse me, stay out, please. And so he finally understands the difference when he's on it and he's not on it.
Right. And you know, we have to expect that children are, you know, sometimes they're not going to want to drink it, or, you know, maybe they just get tired of it. You know, it's kind of like, hey, I've done it for a week. Let's you know, I'm tired of this. Let's try something new now. That's to be expected, and I think the main thing, Saber, is that you've been with it, and, you know, he knows that this helps him out, so he's going to stick with it.
And the whole family is on it now. So
and I want everyone to know that if they haven't ordered Lifestyle, they need to, because Sabra, your story is in there, and also Fran's story is in there this time. So you guys, if like what you heard on this call tonight, get the Lifestyle magazine and start sharing it with other people out there. Sabra, thanks a lot, because I know that you had to rush home to
from
get
the hockey game, yes.
But thanks a lot.
Thank you. It was enjoyable.
Teresa Ducall. Apparently Teresa was not able to get on the call tonight. And what we'll do now is we will open up the phone lines for questions and answers, and maybe for open discussion. The others on the phone that want to share a quick story real quick, maybe we'll have time for that. But I do want to let you know that we have scheduled our next call. It will focus on parents sharing their children's success. Tonight it seemed like we had a lot of ADD testimonies. We did. Hopefully there will be other people, other testimonies on January 11th. It will be at the same time, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern, and same telephone number. Also, if there are any distributors on the line tonight and you're interested in growing your business, every Sunday night you can join David Gerhardt, and I believe it's the same time as tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And that's a conversational networking training call that will help you build and grow your business. It, again, is the same number as tonight. And then every Thursday night, Biomedics has a special conference call, and that call is designed to introduce new people to the Biomedics product line as well as to our business opportunity. And that call takes place at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. We all know that Biomedics is been known for helping adults get more energy and to lose weight. And now, obviously, it's becoming recognized for providing relief from something as frustrating as ADD. Again, remember that Biomedics makes no medical claims, and the information and testimonials that you heard today are just our own personal results. And again, Biomedics offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to lose, so you have everything to gain. So look forward to hearing from you on January 11th. If you would like to share your story on that call, please call Chris Sanchez at Biomedics.
The conference is scheduled to end in 3 minutes.
Or either you can email me at poyt@bellsouth.net. So if anyone has or someone else on the line expound on the results of that? The results that she has seen, and apparently she's been on the product for maybe a month, maybe a little bit less. Her blood sugar were around 250, and now they are 70 to 80 in the morning. So it's dropped down from 250 to around 70 to 80 in the morning time. Her appetite is decreasing. I do know that she takes the Biosyn tablets, which helps kind of suppress your appetite. It's a very good product for diabetics to take. We've had a lot of people that have good success. I really don't know exactly why it helps them out. Again, I'm just a parent, but I do know that this person, I believe she said she was taking the Biofuel, Biosyn, the Bio-Q10, and the Bio-3. They are the 4 products that this child has started out on. And again, hopefully on January 11th, Sandy will be on that call. She was hoping to be on the call tonight, but she had a prior commitment, and she was going to try to dial in and just kind of interrupt us at any point in time, but she couldn't. But that's pretty much all she told me, the day that I spoke with her. Okay. What she does, her daughter, I do know that her daughter, she's going to order her the packets. The one thing that her daughter has forgotten to take a couple of times is the Bio-3 packet or the Bio-3 product. So that comes in packets, and so she's going to order the packets for her so that she'll always have them in her pocket and in her car with her. And that way, if she sticks her hand in her pocket, she'll feel that Bio-3 packet and know that she needs to take it. That is very good at helping stabilize your blood sugars. The Bio-3 also helps with weight loss, and it's very good helping to lower cholesterol. In fact, there's a study that's going on right now, and the result conference time has now expired.